Hello, everyone, and welcome to CommCats. My name is Deandra Blocker, and I'm here with AU Communication graduate and AU academic advisor, Mr. Ron Hickerson. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good today.
That's good. So, let's start off by discussing why you chose to study communication.
When I first came here, I was a English major. I was an English creative writing major, and I kind of had some aspiration to teach. I had seen Dead Poets Society too many times, and so I wanted to be like that teacher. But I took, a couple semesters, and I was doing okay, but I wasn't really focused. I wasn't really interested. And I actually ended up taking a semester off because I was going to choose another program, but that fell through. And when I came back, I thought about doing our journalism major. Back when the communication department had a journalism focus.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that just because, I loved writing, and I just wanted to pursue a skill that was going to be a little bit more marketable than just a creative writing major.
Mm-hmm.
Something that would have a more broad appeal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So, what brought you to Augusta University as a student?
As a student, it's just because I was local.
Okay.
I was local, and I was lazy when it came to applying to universities. I only applied to 2 different universities. I applied to this one because it was close.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have to move. I could live at home. And I applied to Toccoa Falls College because that's where my sister went.
Okay.
So I got accepted to both, and I just decided that I didn't want to go to Toccoa Falls, and I wanted to come here, and that was because when I started, I came in as that English major, and we had that reputation of having a very strong, or at least a very hard English program.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I didn't know anything about the English program at the other college.
Okay, that's understandable. So, how do you think that Augusta University prepared you for your field of study within the real world?
One thing that it really did was it helped me branch out a lot more. One of the reasons why I chose journalism was because I was very introverted. I still am very introverted.
Mm-hmm.
But in journalism, it really required me to break out of my shell.
Right.
It really required me to talk to more people than I normally would.
Mm-hmm.
To actively reach out and have conversations with people.
Right.
Because as part of my degree, I was required to work for the Bell Ringer.
Okay.
And while I was there, I became the chief reporter. So when I was chief reporter, I was responsible for having the most stories. I was responsible for maintaining like a news beat.
Yeah.
So I covered campus crime, and that was something that was completely beyond my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I was able to develop a good relationship with the chief of police at the time,
Mm-hmm.
to the point where we were meeting every other week just to talk about things that were happening on campus. We had a really good rapport, so that when the consolidation happened,
Mm-hmm.
and there was restructuring, he was calling me, telling me new facts, telling me who I should be talking to get stories about things happening. But all those stories really made me reach out to people that I would have never thought to talk to, or act in ways that wouldn't have been in my nature before doing the program. So obviously that's very helpful now, where I have to have conversations with students on a daily basis,
Right.
Especially during next term advisement when I'm seeing about 10 students a day. So it really helped with reaching out, and
Mm-hmm.
it also helped me to be able to give like succinct written communication,
Mm-hmm.
just being able to send out the information in as concise a form as possible. That way students will grab onto it, they'll get hooked, and then they'll know everything they need to know in 1 paragraph versus 5.
Right. Okay, great. So, think back to when you were here at Augusta University. What was your favorite communication class that you took?
My favorite communication class.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be either my intro to news writing class
Mm-hmm.
or my advanced reporting class. I had the same professor for both of them.
Okay.
But the intro to news writing class, I took over a summer semester.
Mm-hmm.
And that one stands out the most right now, just because, you had to go out there and you had to write a story for the bell ringer. You had to write a couple of stories for the class, interviewing people that you knew. But one of the things that he did, this was the professor was Matt Basicio. We always called him Boss.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells us that the assignment is going to be covering a press conference. So he set the stage and he told us this story. He's like, okay, there's been a murder, and there's this couple's been murdered. Police are going to come. They're going to give a press conference tomorrow to talk about the findings that they have so far, the evidence that they have so far.
Mm-hmm.
And he based this scenario over something that happened in his own life, in his own reporting career. I think it was when he was in New Mexico. So he kind of gives us all this drama, and then he's like, okay, now imagine you're a reporter, and the night before the press conference, you get a call from an anonymous source that's saying that the police chief was having an affair with one of the murder victims. So next day he comes into the class wearing a big sheriff's badge. He's got the mirror sunglasses on, like a sheriff's hat. So he came in complete character.
Wow.
Just walked in, no introduction of, okay, class, this is what we're doing today. He just comes in, everyone gets their recorders and is throwing it on the table. People are asking questions. He just stayed in character the entire time, and when the press conference was over, we were done with the class. So we just sat and wrote our paper, and he walked out. So he was always doing really interesting things like that, and really pushing us to pursue good stories.
Okay, very interesting. So, what do you have a professor that when you came here that inspired you the most, or that you looked up to? So who was it?
It was probably Boss, Matt Basicio.
Okay.
Because I took several classes with him because he taught the majority of the journalism classes.
Okay.
So I took that intro to news writing class. I took advanced reporting, where we had to do a special edition of the Bell Ringer.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in charge of layout, in charge of all the stories, in charge of editing those stories. I took feature writing with him, so I learned about how to write a good editorial, and I've used those skills to write letters to the editor for the Augusta Chronicle every now and then.
Okay.
And I took media law and ethics with him,
Okay.
so I learned just about everything you can know about the First Amendment.
Right.
In that class, the textbook was about 500 pages thick. So I took a lot of classes with him. He was very inspiring, just kind of even in his personal life, he inspired me in a lot of different ways, to the point to where I reached out to him at least one time after graduating, to kind of pick his brain about global issues.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. And again, this is Mr. Ron Hickerson here with Deandra Blocker. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.